Welcome to Success in Business. This is where entrepreneurs come together to share their nuggets of wisdom. Today, we would like to welcome guest Godwin Mordi. Godwin was born and raised in Nigeria. His earliest memory was growing up in a home without electricity or clean water. When he was 5 years old, he fell and injured his hip. He could only stand with the support of a cane and wasn't able to attend school. He had to undergo a traumatic treatment program, but he never gave up the hope of walking. He finally overcame his physical challenges. He started school and he was president of his high school and university programs, all the while winning multiple scholarships. He holds a master's degree in fitness, and his award-winning Smart Fitness Revolution program has helped thousands of high-achieving CEOs and busy entrepreneurs achieve their fitness goals. Welcome to the show, Godwin Mordi. We're so happy to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Stacey. It's a pleasure.
Welcome. Oh, well, let's just jump right in and I'll ask you my first question. So I would like to hear, what's the worst advice you hear out there in the fitness world that you'd like to just be like, don't take that advice?
Yeah, when they tell people to lose 10 pounds in 2 weeks and they fall for that, or they tell them to just go on all of these yo-yo diets and people just keep doing that and failing each and every time they try it. I just think that's wrong.
Yes. Oh, so why is that? Why does that set them up for failure?
Most people do not realize that losing body fat and losing body weight are different things. So you can actually, if you, for instance, I tell people if you skip breakfast, you skip lunch, and you weigh yourself at dinner time, you may have lost a pound or two, but that is not a pound or two of body fat. It's a pound or two of body weight, and that's because you reduce your caloric intake. But the body fat has not been depleted at all. And so when you're working out and you need to lose body fat, essentially what you're trying to do is deplete the glucose in your bloodstream, and so that the body can start breaking down the glycogen store to produce more glucose to power your workout. It's then and only then that you can start talking about losing body fat. But you have to be doing this consistently to achieve that result. But most people are not consistent enough to actually make the body want to break down stored body fat to produce glucose. And so when they starve themselves by going on these diets, they lose like 10 pounds. But when they go back to weighing themselves again, and then go back to eat what they love to eat, everything will just show back on the weighing scale. And the problem was the body fat never left in the first place.
Oh, that's such good advice. That's such, that gives us such a background on what's actually happening when people just look at the scale and they think it tells them some fact about their body. And that's really helpful.
It's true.
So you've helped a lot of people. Yeah, you've helped a lot of people be able to change their view of how to gain and lose weight sustainably. Tell us a little bit about your background. I did in the intro, but tell us kind of how you got into the fitness industry.
Oh, yeah. So for me, I would say I was called into the fitness industry. Growing up in Nigeria, my parents wanted me to be a medical doctor. But over time, I just realized that I was too active to spend the rest of my life working in a hospital. And so I started looking at another profession that would give me the opportunity to practice the medical profession, as well as my love for sports. And so sports physical therapy came in place, and I pursued that. Luckily, I graduated, became a sports physical therapist, and just had the privilege to train Olympic gold medalists, FIFA Soccer World Champions. And then eventually I moved to the US to complete a master's degree in fitness. And after that, when I started my practice in Los Angeles, people who were non-athletes started reaching out to me to help design their fitness program, like high-achieving CEOs, Fortune 500 CEOs and successful entrepreneurs who don't really have time to work out, but they also needed to get fit because their physician had told them they were pre-hypertensive or pre-diabetic. They either had to go on blood pressure medication or shed that excess pound that they were carrying around. And so within the limited time that they had available to work out, I was able to design a successful program for them. Because I tell them, I'm like, if you have time to eat, you have time to work out. Because most people say they don't have time to work out. That is not true. When health becomes a priority, people make time for it. You understand? But the goal is not to get to that stage where it now becomes a priority. It should be a lifestyle. So my program is designed around letting people know that there is no fit human being. We're all on a fitness journey. If you look at your professional athletes, when they retire and they become like sportscasters, you won't even realize they played professional sports because they look like everybody else. And the reason is because the human body does not store fitness. So even if you worked out since you were in elementary school and you became a professional, so you just worked out for like 20 or 30 years straight, when you stop working out at that intensity of 3 or 4 times a day of intense workout to maintain that professional level status, the body will just revert back to storing fat because your lean muscles will be deplenishing, as you stop the activity, and then the fat will catch up, and then you look like everybody else.
Yes, I love how you say we're all on the fitness journey. That's so
Yes.
good. It's not like sometime we'll arrive. Oh, I'll arrive and then I'll be fit and then I won't have to work out and eat healthy.
Work out again, yeah.
It's a whole lifestyle.
It is. It is.
Yes. Okay, so tell us about, so you said you help these people, these successful people who don't have very much time. Do you have any advice for our listeners who may be in that position? Just some tips for them how to improve their health if they feel like they don't have much time.
Oh, yeah. So when you're sitting down, there's actually a workout that I designed for people that are in my program. If you're sitting down, there's still a whole lot that you can do. For instance, it's called soleus pump. Most people don't realize it, but it is very powerful. So the muscle in the leg, the back of the leg, the gastrocnemius, and then underneath that is the soleus muscle. When you're sitting down, the calf muscle relaxes, so blood tends to pool around the lower leg. But if you keep lifting your toes up with your heels down, and you keep doing that continuously, that will still send blood back to the heart. And then over time, if you're firing this muscle group, with time, you just realize that you're gaining health benefits that come from that. It's almost like as if you're carrying out a workout by sitting down because you're forcing blood to go back to the heart. And if you keep doing this as fast as you can, it's not going to hurt so much, but the truth is you're actually speeding up your flow of glucose and energy around your body at the same time, instead of just sitting down and then not doing anything. So that's one thing that I ask them to do. Between that as well, I teach them how to do a proper 1 minute sit to stand. It's actually a test, but I make it a workout for them. So within 60 seconds, I tell them to stand up and sit down as fast as they can without leaning forward. So they engage their core. They want to maintain their back on the back of the chair that they're sitting on, and then they stand up, they sit down, they extend their hands in front of them, and they do that. Now, for some people, they're not able to do that for even 60 seconds because it's tough, especially if they're doing it correctly. So within that time, they've been able to carry out some really intense workout that'll send their heart rate up to more than 100 beats per minute.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. So if someone was listening, decided to try that at home, what advice would you give them to do it correctly? Or would you say, don't try this at home, instead reach out to a coach? Like, tell us a little bit about.
Oh, yeah. So the truth is, if you look at professional athletes, I'll use them as an example. They all have coaches in spite of everything that they've achieved. So the question that I usually ask most people is, who's your fitness coach? Are you doing it all by yourself? And how do you know that you're doing the right thing? Because exercise is a medicament. What that means is if you're exercising, it's as if you're taking a medication. Exercise has the same effects that medications have. So most people are not taking the right dose of exercise, maybe because they're not doing it correctly or they don't even know how to do it right. You see what I mean? And so reaching out, a coach will tell you exactly what you're doing and what you're doing wrong and how to correct that to get the benefit of this workout. For instance, most people do this on their own. When they lean forward, the center of gravity transfers posteriorly to the back. And so they're actually putting pressure on the back. But if they do it correctly by engaging their core, they work the core muscle, they work the glutes, they work the hamstrings, they work the quads, all at the same time. But if I'm watching someone do it, I can tell if they're doing it correctly or not. You see?
Yes.
So that's a huge difference. Yeah, between doing
Uh-huh.
it yourself and doing it with a coach who knows what
Yeah.
it takes to get results.
Yeah. So the key for that particular exercise is not to lean forward, but to engage the core.
Yes,
Explain what it
absolutely.
means to engage the core, because that's an exercise all on its own, isn't it?
Oh yeah, for sure. So when I tell people to engage the core, sometimes they'll be like, oh, I don't understand. I thought I was doing it right. I just tell someone, if I have like a medicine ball and I was throwing it towards your abs, what do? Instinctively, you just brace your ab muscles. And so that's what you do. It's like you're sucking in air. So that's what you do, but you just engage your belly button, suck it to the back of your stomach, hold that position, but breathe, but just maintain that position. Because the back also is part of the core muscle, but most people do not realize that. And so in anatomy, there's agonist and antagonist. Some muscles are contracting, some muscles are relaxed. So if you relax the abs, the back takes pressure. If you relax the back, the ab takes pressure. And so for this exercise, we want to make sure that you engage the abs the entire time while you're going up and down, up and down. Now, after a couple seconds, the abs will begin to burn. That is a good sign that you're doing it correctly. If you
Oh,
start
very
feeling
good.
pressure on your back, then you're not engaging your abs. The back will tell you, okay, this is where the pressure is at. Switch it up. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
Okay. That's such an excellent idea for people who have to spend a lot of time sitting. That's very
Yes.
helpful. Okay, so
Yes.
I want to know, what are the best parts about being in your line of work, and what are the worst things? Like how do you, what do you love and what do you not love?
Uh, well, for me, I think the way that I was raised almost led me through a fitness path, not because I chose that, but because I didn't really have many of the resources that most people enjoy today. When I was growing up, all we did was play soccer, bare feet. We couldn't even afford to buy a good soccer ball. Sometimes we had to just go through trash to go get plastic bags or melt the plastic bags in a fire and try to mold it round into a soccer ball shape, and then we'll start kicking that around. So we did that every day. Sometimes after school, when I come back and maybe it's lunchtime, my friends would just knock on my door to let me know it was soccer time. So you had to choose between eating lunch and playing soccer. If you go eat lunch, you miss like 3 or 4 hours of soccer. So I usually ended up playing soccer instead. And so just I've been living my life that way. And currently I play like semi-professional soccer as well. So the fact that I've led that lifestyle has just kept me going in the sport that I love to do. And so for most people who are not very, very fit or haven't really found what their fitness goals are, the first thing that I do is tell them to find their fitness goal. So if that's going to be true sports or leading a healthy lifestyle, or just being there to be able to run around and chase their children and grandchildren, then we can now incorporate that as their lifestyle goal and design programs that will help them accomplish that.
Very good. Very good.
Yes.
And then what do you not like? What is something that is
Yes.
hard?
So I think not me personally, but everything that is going on in general in the fitness industry, there's just so much misinformation out there, unfortunately, because most fitness professionals do not need to have a degree or a license to practice fitness. It's almost like an all-comers affair, so anyone can just stand in front of a camera and spew false information, and then thousands or millions of people would just keep following that path. Like I've had people come to me to say, okay, I saw this on TikTok, they did this, so this is what I want to do. You see, because it's a trend on TikTok. But when I break down the science and the anatomy of what it is that they're doing wrong, they'll be like, oh, I thought this was really good. It's got like millions of hits on TikTok, on Instagram. I'm like, it's not everything that is getting hits and followings on Instagram and TikTok that are actually medically or scientifically proven, so there's just so much noise and misinformation out there. That's one of the things that I really do not like about the fitness industry.
Yes. Oh, so if someone's on the fence and they're trying to decide whether to listen to the TikTok that has the best hits or hire a coach, they're trying to decide back and forth. Kind of give us an idea of what it involves when you hire a coach, specifically if someone were to listen to this and want to hire you. Tell us about that process.
Okay, so the first thing that I'll ask is the TikTok influencer that you're following, what is their educational background to start with? You know, so for most of them, it's not really available out there. You know what I mean? And if you actually look at a coach's background, if you want to hire a coach, the first thing you do is look at their background, look at their degree, look at their qualification. You know, like I've dedicated my entire life into the health and fitness industry and the medical field as well. So the fact that I've had the privilege to train an Olympic gold medalist, I have his interview, that you can't take away from me, right? I have the interview of a top CEO, Fortune 500 CEO, who I designed a fitness program for, and he stayed off of his blood pressure medication because the program that I designed for him was working so well. His physician told him he did not need to go back to his blood pressure medication. I've had people come to me who were overweight and I've helped them lose like 120 pounds, but they never had to do any of those yo-yo diets that are out there, because I tell them human beings are designed to enjoy food. It is what you do with the food that matters, you know? So I've trained like Greco-Roman super heavyweight wrestlers that are like 320 pounds. They do not have six-pack abs, but their percentage body fat is 15%. So those guys are very fit at 15% body fat. They're not carrying around excess body fat. It's just the weight of the way they are, like their bone density. That's why they have all of that weight going on. And they have like a lot of lean muscle mass as well, even if it's not showing up as toned muscle. You see what I mean? So every human being should enjoy the body that they have and want to make the most of it to prolong or eliminate health issues. You see what I mean? So that's the goal. Yes, that's how I design my programs.
Oh, I bet people would love to hear that. Oh, that's so great. Yes, work with the way that your body's designed instead of against it.
Yes.
So
good. Oh, yeah.
Yes. Share with us a success story. Like you can just kind of share with us some success that someone got, kind of where they were at the beginning and then how they were able to achieve their goals.
Yeah. So one of the success stories that I readily recall is with a girl who met me in Los Angeles. She had never exercised her entire life. They wouldn't let her do PE because she had chronic case of asthma, and then a PE teacher felt didn't want her to have an asthmatic attack during workouts or PE. And so because of that, she became really depressed and just turned to food. When she came to me, she was weighing over 300 pounds. And she told me she had never exercised her entire life, but that health-wise, she was having so many issues. And so I told her we were going to do this program designed specifically for her, and that I needed to see her like three times a week. And I designed a program for her that did not require her having to go on any strict diet whatsoever. I just looked at the kind of food she ate and then advised her on what to tweak and what to add to make it her own lifestyle. Because I wasn't there to watch her 24/7 when she ate. You know what I mean? So there was that level of accountability between us. So sometimes when she strayed away from what she was supposed to have, she let me know. I didn't judge her at all. I just told her, okay, since you've done this, this is what we're going to do to counter that. But she stuck with the program, and in less than a year, she had lost 120 pounds, and then her body fat was back to her normal range again. She stayed off of all of those blood pressure medications. Yeah, she said, I changed her life. And I said, no, I did not. Because she believed in me enough to carry out that program. Because what I let people know is I can't motivate anyone, but I can encourage someone. There's a huge difference. Like if you wake up in the morning and we have a program, you decide not to show up because you're so tired. That's not my fault, you know. But if you show up, I can make you do 1 second more, 1 minute more. You see what I mean? 1 rep more. Yes. And that will help you towards achieving your fitness goals. So I distinguish those two from the very beginning.
Yes. That's really good. So every individual is different, and you take into account all of their, it sounds like you really go deep, like finding out what their fitness goals are and then creating a program around what they are, what they need. So each individual is different. And so people listening to this, they will be different. So there's not really a one size fits all kind of advice you could give them. But if you were to give some general advice for people for their health, specifically about what they eat, what advice would you give them?
So when it comes to food, there are different classes of food. I know so many people who preach out there do not eat carbs. I'm not one of those people because carb is a major class of food. It's actually our primary source of energy. So you can remember at the beginning of, I think, the pandemic, keto diet was the rave of the moment, but most people are not talking about that anymore because personally and scientifically speaking, as humans, we're not designed to be on ketosis. Our energy source is glycolysis. Unless somebody has medical issues that benefits them having ketones or ketosis as their primary source of energy, then you shouldn't cut away carbs from your diet unless also carbs hurt you. See what I mean? But there are different types of carbs out there that shouldn't really pose a serious problem to someone. You understand? So I work with different types of nutritionists and dietitians as well when I design my fitness program. So I usually send people to go see them as well, to have like a consult with them to come up with like a plan for their nutrition. And then I work around that plan with them as well on the physical side. So my program usually involves working on building up the lean muscles, increasing the BMR, the basal metabolic rate, because that is absolutely important. Most people think when they go to the gym, the caloric chart that shows on their treadmill or bicycle is actually the amount of calories they're burning, but that is certainly not true. Your basal metabolic rate is a function of how much body fat of you're burning at rest. And so our goal in our program is to increase that value so that when you work out, while you rest and the body recovers and you've taken your protein, that is when the effects of your workout starts to take place. But you should have actually worked out to a certain extent where the basal metabolic rate will slowly increase over time, which means you're actually burning more calories at rest. And so that is what gives people that goal when they carry out programs like that.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. That's so encouraging for people.
Yes.
There's so many myths out there. Oh my gosh, like you're just dispelling them on this show right now. You're just helping us so much.
Exactly.
Wow. Wow. Okay, here's a question I love to ask, and that is, do you have a favorite failure? Is there something that happened that set you back, but that you learned a lot from and you grew from? I know you've had physical setbacks when you were young, but just any kind, you could share more about that experience or any other failure that you've had.
Oh yeah, I think for me, I would say I'm a lifelong student. So there have been a couple tests that I took at some point that I didn't do so well in, but I knew for sure that those tests were going to help me along, not just in my fitness journey, but my knowledge as well. Because if I have to stand in front of people to talk about any topic, I want to make sure I know exactly what it is that I'm talking about. So when I completed my master's degree in fitness, I did not stop there. I continued with some continuing education courses. Some I didn't really give my full attention to. And so I did not complete those. So I'll consider those a failure. But the one that I actually decided I was going to complete, now I decided to really dedicate the time to studying for those. And so when I had the opportunity to take those tests again, those credentials, it went really, really well. And the knowledge that I've learned from those, I still use until this day because I update my knowledge every single day. Yes.
Very good. Very good. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
okay. And then
welcome.
Do you have any fitness gurus that you follow or anyone that you're just like, they're pretty solid, people could get a lot of benefit from? Do you have any recommendations?
Okay, so a group of people that I follow, one, the knowledge that I get from my daily readings and comes from like medical journals. not magazines or all of these fitness magazines that are out there, because people can throw their information out there in the medical, in the fitness magazines. So I do a lot of journal research. That's one. And then two, some of the people I follow are people who have similar background like me in the health and fitness industry. So a couple of YouTube people like Jeff Cavalier, he's also sports physical therapist like me. And so that's one of the people that I follow as well, to just keep up to date with the knowledge that he's sharing and look at what that would feel like for my practice as well. Because he's also a physical therapist. He's trained Olympic athletes. He's trained other athletes that are recreational athletes as well. And so the information he's sharing comes from a scientific background that we both share. So those are the kind of people I will encourage people to follow. People who have very solid background in science and medical field too.
Very good. Very good. Awesome. Yes. Are there any books out there that you'd recommend?
Oh yeah. So many of them. One, if it comes to like fitness, you want to create the habit of working out, right? So Atomic Habits is one of them that I recommend. And two, little efforts every day over time compounds. So I'll recommend Compound Effect as well by Darren Hardy. Think and Grow Rich is another one that I read as well. Power of Positive Thinking as well, because you are what you believe and you're what you say to yourself. So Power of Positive Thinking is absolutely very important. Like I tell everyone that I come across on a single day, every human being is a genius. But most people do not realize that, because the knowledge you have, nobody else has it in the world. So that makes you special. That makes you unique. So it doesn't matter what people say about you. You have the knowledge that can change the world if you decide to apply it that way. And so I tend to listen more than I speak, because if you speak, you're actually just spewing out things that you already know. But when you listen, you learn from someone, and you can learn from anybody that you're having a conversation with. And so active listening, there's so many books that are out there too that comes with active listening, not listening to speak back, but listening to understand what someone's saying to you. That's powerful.
That is powerful. That is very good advice. Yeah. Speaking of positivity and just motivation, and what's some advice you could give to people who kind of have the tools in place, but they lack motivation? What advice would you give them?
Yes, so motivation are two types, right? Intrinsic and extrinsic, the one that comes from within and the one that comes from outside. So some people, like if you're following social media, likes to motivate you, that's extrinsic motivation. But if you wake up in the morning and you just decide, no, this is the day for me, I have to do this. One of the best advice that I got was when I was in medical school. Neuroanatomy professor, when we asked him what the secret was to succeed in medical school, the advice he gave me, I'll give to everyone here. He said, know when to say no and enough. And that stuck with me. Well, like, what do you mean? He said, know when to say no and enough. So any activity that I'm carrying out, I always ask myself, is it time to say no? Is this enough for me right now? So when I just asked those two questions and I realized that activity isn't really benefiting me towards my fitness goal, I stop right there. And so I have that just in my wall, know when to say no and enough, and just roll with that advice. So anything that you do, bounce it off of that, make that your personal value. It'll help you a lot.
Yeah, that's good. That ties into what you said earlier about people they are a genius if they listen to themselves,
of course,
and they take action on what they know. They are amazing.
For sure. For sure.
I find that definitely true in my coaching. It's just like unlocking what's already there. It's so powerful.
There. Yes, true.
Okay. So I have a fun question. What is an unusual habit or absurd thing that you love? What's kind of funny about you that we'd be interested in?
Oh, well, for most people I think people who don't really know me, they think I'm soft-spoken and relaxed. But when I play soccer, it's almost as if I'm Incredible Hulk or Superman. The me that goes to soccer field and the me in a soccer field are totally different human beings. Like when I step on a soccer field, I just transformed just like that. And I didn't know why that was from the very beginning until I started reading success stories of people like Michael Jordan. That's when I realized, or even Kobe Bryant. Look, so if you look at Kobe and you look at Black Mamba, they're totally different people, right? But the same person. So I've always been like that. I didn't know why. I think it was from my background, the way I grew up. I was really good in soccer. I used to play with people who were twice my age. They would beat me up,
Wow.
just because I dribbled past them, they felt I was embarrassing them, but I took all of that in my chin and I learned everything that I could from them. So on the soccer field, the way I play or any sport that I play or anything that I do outside of who I am as an individual is totally different. So that extra motivation is what pushes me to always want to be the best in everything that I do. And I'll encourage people to do that. Find your alter ego. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
Yes. Find your alter
Really
ego.
good.
Yeah.
Wow. Awesome. All right. So we're kind of wrapping up. I'll ask a few more questions. This one is,
Okay.
what advice would you give to like a smart driven college student who's about to enter the quote unquote real world? What advice would you give them and what advice should they ignore?
That's a great question. If I'll put themselves in my shoes, I'll be like, educational knowledge is one thing, self-knowledge is another. If I'd known when I was in the university that my educational knowledge would not lead me to where I needed to be, I would have started self and personal development from the get-go, So there are many books and so many mentors that you can follow. Just find a mentor that has the type of lifestyle that you want to lead and just get under their wings. Find a coach that will help you from where you are right now to where you need to be and just follow their teachings. That's my advice. You always have your educational qualification, your degree to fall back on, but self-development and personal development is what will make you a fortune. Educational degree will often just make you a living. So you have to pick what it is that you want to accomplish, if it's a living or if you want to make a fortune and impact lives globally, the choice is yours.
Yes. Oh, so good. Such good advice. Yes, I agree. Because I'm a coach as well and I have that same viewpoint. So that was excellent.
Exactly.
Okay. The last question I love to ask this one is if you could have a gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it that would be seen by the world, by millions and billions, what would you want to put on that billboard?
I'll say you're already great the way you are. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yes. Awesome. Yes. People do so much more when they feel capable. It's just, it's amazing. Yes. Oh,
but sometimes
wonderful.
people need to see that or hear that from somebody else to reinforce that belief in themselves.
Yes. Oh, so true. Excellent.
Yeah.
If people wanted to get a hold of you and be able to hire you as a coach, what's the best way to contact you?
Oh, yes. So thank you for that question. I actually have a Facebook group now where I share most of my knowledge with my group. It's called facebook.com/virtual fitness party. People can go in there and join the group. But for those who are ready right now to have a one-on-one, I do a complimentary coaching because it's coming from you. They can reach me directly when they go through the Facebook group. They have a 3-question prompt that they have to answer. The 3rd question is for them to send an email saying that they're ready right now, and then we'll schedule a meeting to see how best we can serve them.
Good. Oh, very good.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing.
Yes.
And I'll include the link
welcome.
to that in the comments so that people can refer to that. Okay,
excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Well, we have been so benefited by you being on our show today. This has been absolutely amazing. Like the amount of information and background that you have and the wealth of wisdom, your tips and advice. It's just been such a well-spent time. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'd love to serve any way I can. It's been a pleasure.